Good evening, my friends. This is Paul, and today I'll be reviewing for you the Sonic 3 movie DLC for Sonic X Shadow Generations. This pack of DLC comes with a brand new level inspired by the trailer of the Sonic 3 movie, which as of the time of this recording hasn't even come out yet, so it's a bit of a sneak peek interactive movie trailer. Like, is that not one of the coolest things you've ever seen this year? You play as Movie Shadow, where he was redesigned to look more like how Shadow the Hedgehog looks in the movie, and specifically for this DLC, he's voiced by Keanu Reeves. Because the idea is that after you beat Space Colony Act 1, there's a new area in the white space that appears, and when Shadow goes into that anomaly, his body has transformed into movie-ified version, and his voice has changed so that instead of Kirk Thornton in the regular game, it's now Keanu Reeves, because that's who's playing him in the movie. Now, admittedly, this level doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because I haven't seen any trailers for the Sonic 3 movie, and I haven't even seen the first two, for that matter. So a lot of it was just like, okay, stuff is happening for the sake of happening. But it was still a lot of fun to go through, except when I was grinding on rails, because the game did not do a good job of telegraphing that they were rails. It was pretty short. Most of the levels in Shadow Generations are relatively long, so it was quite a breezy level to get through. Thankfully, I think the developers realized this, because you also have two challenge acts. Now, normally this is the part of the video where I'd moan and say that it's padding and be like, why do we have to have the challenges? But the fact that there's no Act 2, even though the game says this is Act 1, generally when you put a 1 in front of something you expect there to at least be a 2, grammatical errors aside, it's adding more length to a very short DLC. There's one where you have to pop a bunch of balloons, and then there's another where you have to collect enough rings and then get to the goal. Probably the coolest part of this DLC is that it's not very often that the universes of the games and the movies come together. You typically don't hear and see the actors from the games being in the movies and vice versa. So this is one of those opportunities for the two universes to, uncanonically at least, come together. And I really hope that more companies do that. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who wished that there was a Super Mario Bros. Movie game where, like, we could get Chris Pratt's voice and we could have Mario's design from that and maybe, like, go through the platforming gauntlet that Mario went through in the movie. And this Sonic DLC ends up giving us that opportunity with Sonic, so Sega still does what Nintendon't. And even though Keanu Reeves does sound very out of place in the Sonic game universe, I still appreciate that they went that extra mile to make sure that a movie actor was in a game. From what I heard, the movies already have the actress that plays Tails in them, so that's a pretty cool little bit of crossover. Now, there's not a whole lot that you get extra upon beating these missions. You get a poster for the movie upon beating the main level, but as far as I can tell, you don't get anything for beating the two challenges. Now, I have seen that there are those optional collectibles in each level, but I'm not a completionist. That's not my thing. But if one of you in the comments is after those, then please, by all means, let me know what they do. And I would love to know if that adds more replay value to the DLC. Now, you can buy this separately. I made that mistake in my original Sonic X Shadow Generations review, but I don't think they gave you the option to play this separately when I went to purchase it in the eShop. But if you only want the movie DLC and you don't want the perks that I listed in my review, you can pay about $6, and I think that's a pretty reasonable price for how short it is and how very little content you're getting. You're really only getting 3 new levels, a new voice for Shadow, and a new skin, but you can't carry over the skin or the voice into the main game, which is kind of the point. But at the same time, I feel like that would have given the DLC so much more value. Like, imagine if you could have Keanu's voice in all these classic Shadow levels, or have Movie Shadow take on the final boss. Like, don't tell me you weren't imagining that when you heard this announced, and were really sad when Sega made their announcement saying, we have some potentially bad news for the DLC. Maybe they did that to avoid costs from going too high, but whatever the reason, I still had a pretty fun time, and even though it's a very breezy time, it was still enjoyable. Now, do I think all of the DLC is worth it now that it's finalized? No, not really. I think you should just buy the movie DLC by itself and skip the rest of it, unless you really like those legacy tunes in Shadow Generations. Personally, I didn't really care for them, especially as a lot of them were already in Sonic Generations. But at the same time, the movie DLC was absolutely worth it, and I'm really glad that I got the opportunity to try it. And I hope you guys will all like it too, and I hope you will pray that I will eventually see the Sonic movies, because it hasn't been that I haven't wanted to, it's that I haven't had the opportunity. So with that, thank you very much for watching. Please let me know down in the comment section how much you love Sonic. Are you planning on picking up the DLC? Have you watched the movies? Can you give me your spoiler-free inputs? And just anything else you want to talk about related to Sonic. And until the next time, remember to keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye!